Welcome back, everyone, to 40k Lore with Ludus Infinium. Today we pick up at a point where we left off last week, the event right after Horus's corruption, the betrayal at Istvaan III. To start with, I would like to talk about the 4 legions who were deployed, their locations, and their tasks. We have the Death Guard, who were deployed with Legio Mortis to attack the trenches and fortifications. The World Eaters, who were deployed outside the Precentor's palace and tore a literal hole through the city and its denizens. The Emperor's Children, who were deployed on the palace to take out the traitor Vardus Prawl. And finally, the Sons of Horus, who were deployed to the Siren Hole to combat the Warsingers directly. After the battle had turned in the Space Marines' favor, all communication was cut to the fleet. And the fleet went into low orbit. So I'm going to talk about this at much greater length in another video, but a Emperor's Children Space Marine captain had managed to stay aboard the vessel, Salt Tarbets, and saw that what was about to happen was that they were going to bombard the entire planet with Life Eater virus, one of the nastiest of nasty things. And he escaped, flew past the Eisenstein to one of his longtime friends, the Death Guard battle captain, Nathaniel Garrow. And due to his connection with Garrow, he was spared and made it down to the planet to let them know, get into cover, boys. Bad things are going to come our way. And then all hell broke loose. And by all hell, I mean the planet was covered in Life Eater virus. And so all of the Legionnaires who could take over could. The Death Guard and the World Eaters made it into bunkers. The Emperor's Children, if I remember this correctly, and I haven't found, and this was going through the audiobook, so I kind of remember this in passing. They somehow locked themselves in the Precentor's palace, and then you have the Sons of Horus, who locked themselves in the Siren Hold. And this is when shit gets bad. So the only way to get rid of the Death Eater virus is they lit it on fire. And I want to point this out. It released a black cloud. This black cloud was so big it encompassed the entire planet, and then they lit it on fire. Enter Beavis and Butthead. Fire. Anyway, so to the shock and, quite frankly, sheer irritants of the actual traitors, the Loyalists survived. Not all of them, mind you. They took a pretty hard hit, not just from that, but also from the battle that had taken place. And then the Death Eater virus kind of tore them a new hole. And they came out and they're like, we're still alive, come get us. Now, Horus was going to bombard the planet again until he noticed Angron. And I will say it this way, because I've been watching a lot of anime here lately. If this was an anime, Angron would have rammed his ship into the planet. But that little aside, Angron rushed towards the planet to go kill his sons, his World Eaters, that were still loyal to the Emperor, not him. And, also, there's one other piece of, depending on how you look at it, good information. The Dies Irae was also on planet, and it had environmentally sealed itself so the Life Eater virus could not get in. It started playing with the loyal Death Guard, and by playing I mean murdering in large, vast quantities of numbers. One of the things that really hurt the Loyalists was 2 instances. The first one is Lucius, who had killed Vardus Prawl, he turned traitor and killed the majority of the Emperor's children in his vicinity. And then went on to duel Saul Tarvitz. And if I remember right, he either knocks him out or Saul Tarvitz knocks him out. Again, this is reading in the audiobook. This is not really important to... this will be covered in later episode or later lore video. This is not really important to what we're saying. One of them gets knocked out. To my knowledge, neither one of them dies. Lucius goes back to the traders, and Dreadnought Rylanor collects Tarvitz. So, that happens, and that cripples the Emperor's children. The other thing that happens is the reunification, or, well, not reunification, that's a bad word for this. The reunion of the Mournival. Ezekiel Abaddon and Little Horus Aximand confront Garviel Loken and Tarek Torgadon. And they square up. Abaddon to Loken, Aximand to Torgadon. And Abaddon kind of tears Loken up a little bit. He beats him mercilessly. And Aximand kills Torgadon. So then the city gets bombarded by Horus, and everyone retreats. Loken gets covered in rubble. Torgadon's dead. Lucius is turned traitor. Tarvitz is presumed dead. Rylanor has entombed himself in the Precentor's palace. Now, to put this in a bit of perspective, this siege was not over the course of 1 or 2 days. It was over the course of like 2 or 3 months. The death toll before the conflict between Abaddon and Aximand and Loken and Torgadon put about, from what I found, about 20,000 loyalists have been killed, and close to probably about 40 traitors have been killed. So it's one of those things where, because they were defending and they didn't really have a home field advantage. They had time to set up and defend. And one of the things that really helped was Eidolon is a moron. And I say that because he thought, oh, I'm so much better than the Emperor's children who are not loyal to Fulgrim. Ha 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 ha, they are the traitors and we are better than them. And took an entire armored column to go play with them and got his shit kicked in pretty hard. So Eidolon fucked up. It was a gruesome war. And the interesting thing is, it's been a death world ever since for 10,000 years. And this was something interesting. 10,000 years later, for just kind of like a, hey, something cool I found out. Supposedly, well, from what I see, from the research I've done, the sole survivor, Ancient Rylanor, used a sonic beacon to draw Fulgrim to Istvaan III. And this next part, I am curious how this happened. And once Fulgrim got there, he detonated an unexploded virus bomb. And re-scoured Istvaan III. Did not kill Fulgrim, though. So, yeah. Win some, lose some, I guess. But the important part in this is to realize just where Horus's corruption was. You know, I wanted to get the details out of the way of how horrific a battle it was. 60,000 minimum Astartes lost their lives, including both the numbers for the traitors and for the loyalists. So, and that's the minimum. Horus had seen it as he had bloodied his troops against the Stardays. So the next time they have to fight the Stardays, they have the experience, they have the upper hand. It was the point where there really was no coming back anymore. You know, there really wasn't any point. There was really no chance of him coming back after Davin, honestly. However, if this were to be something like a stereotypical TV show or an anime or whatever, you know, that last chance for redemption, you don't have to do it. I would say the absolute last chance would have been the Battle of Istvaan III. But he was already so far gone then, I would probably push it all the way back to Davin. I mean, this is the point where he becomes the true War Master of Chaos, which is a title that later gets picked up by Abaddon, unfortunately. Abaddon the Harmless. And I like Horus's story, I do. It's really, if you take nothing else from it, take it as don't let, or in the case of 40k, it's don't let your own weakness and insecurity corrupt you. And in reality, I would word it as don't let your own weakness and insecurity destroy you. Don't let it change you. Don't let it make you something you're not. You know, we all go through hard times. We all go through bad things. And you can't let weakness and insecurity wrap its way around your mind. Now, that being said, on that cheerful of cheerful notes, with all the bodies laid at Istvaan III, the main leaders of the Loyalists, dead or presumed dead, I think we're going to leave it there. Next video, I will probably do Istvaan V, since I did the Salamanders Loyal Legion, and that is actually something very important to the Salamanders, and then after that I might go back to individual legions. But Istvaan V will also be another it's another brutal point. It's one where you see how little Horus cares about his brothers. And when I say brothers, I don't mean other Astartes. I mean Primarchs. I mean Vulcan, Corvus Corax, or Ferrus Manus, who dies at Istvaan V. So it's one of those things that'll be really interesting talking about, and I know this probably wasn't exactly what everyone was looking forward to. It was a little bit rantier than normal, and I kind of glossed over a lot of it. But there's really no way to do Istvaan III justice. This was the first true battle of the Horus Heresy. And I could go back and do this video 30, 40, 50 times and still not be happy with it. So I think when I'm done, where I've given the information and tried to keep it brief, because I could always go back and do a more in-depth video later. But just the basics of Istvaan III. I think that would be okay. So, with that being said, I want to say thank you to everyone. I honestly wouldn't be here without any of you who made it this far. If you want to support the channel, please subscribe, leave a like, join the Discord, leave ideas for new games, new lore videos, or for ways to improve the videos. If you can and want to support monetarily, there's always a Patreon and a Streamlabs in the description. But the most important thing of all, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and know that Ludus Infinium is always here for each and every one of you. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye!